Do you feel helpless in the face of intense emotions? In this video, I want to share my framework for highly sensitive people to take control of their emotions, represented by this spot. This is the exact system I developed after countless hours of introspection and research in the last 6 years, along with coaching people for hundreds of hours. So let's get into it. Let's start with why you get triggered. Most sensitive people don't understand why they get triggered so easily and so often. So let me explain. When you say he triggered me or that was very triggering, that's a super accurate way of explaining your inner reality. Because when you look at a gun, how big of a part is the trigger? It's probably like 5% of the entire machine. But that is what shoots the bullet and causes damage. But what if there were no ammunition or gunpowder in the gun? Do you think pulling the trigger would still have the same impact? Similarly, when someone triggers you, it's actually the gunpowder you are carrying which causes the intense emotional reaction. So, what's this gunpowder? The gunpowder is all the emotional trauma you've been accumulating since you were a child. And the more trauma you carry, the more explosive you become. The bad news is because highly sensitive people feel unpleasant emotions more deeply, they are more prone to accumulating trauma. I legit did not think my childhood was traumatizing in any way, but I realized on my healing journey that we often dismiss the insignificant things in our past that are severely traumatic to a sensitive child. This is exactly why I've created this free AI tool that tells you how traumatic your childhood was. You just answer some questions and it gives you a score out of 100. I took it myself and this is what I got, which was surprising. As you answer these questions, things start to come into your awareness and a lot of your current situation makes sense. Do check it out. Here's my exact system to control your emotions as a HSP. Imagine a pot which is overflowing with water and causing a mess. There are really three things you can do in this situation to remedy it. The first thing you can do is you can give the overflowing water a healthy outlet to the drainage. The second thing you can do is you can clean up the mess caused or that is continuing to be caused. And then finally, you can turn off the source of water into the tap. Similarly, if you want to remedy the overflow of your emotions, you can either give them a healthy outlet, control their damage when they are overflowing, or get to the root cause, which is trauma, just like we discussed. Neither of the three are better or worse. You need to find ways and tools to incorporate all three in your life so that you can have control over your emotions. Let me share those for you, starting with a healthy outlet. Let's say you really have to understand and solve a difficult maths equation for your thesis or whatever. How do you do that? Do you do that by ignoring the sum or not practicing and scrolling instead? Or do you do that by spending time with it, being curious, and doing more research? This sounds like an obvious question, but that is exactly the case with your emotions as well. Most sensitive people, because they carry childhood trauma, are emotional judges, which means that they judge a set of emotions as positive and another set of emotions as negative. Notice this subconscious tendency in yourself. Do you organize your life in order to avoid the bad emotions at any cost? On the other hand, do you choose or do you chase rather good emotions desperately? And society encourages this dumb approach that makes your life miserable. That is why everyone is miserable, matter of fact. And I know this because I was an emotion judge for 20 years of my life. But similar to the maths equation, if you want to get better with your emotions, you must transition to being an emotion scientist. An emotion scientist is someone who is curious about their emotions, irrespective of whether they are pleasant or unpleasant. And research shows that people who are emotion scientists have a higher EQ or emotional intelligence. Translation, they are better at managing their emotions. So, what are the concrete steps to become an emotion scientist? The fastest way I know to do that is this free app called How We Feel. It's so effective. I literally suggest this to every single one of my clients. It allows you to label how you're feeling using precise words. There's even place to be curious about why you're feeling certain emotions and figure out where exactly do you feel it in your body. I love this feature of this app. We'll look at why this is so important in a bit. But the app is also designed in a way that validates all your emotions. It doesn't label it as negative or positive. Rather, it calls them pleasant and unpleasant. And this over time is what allows you to transition from being an emotion judge to an emotion scientist. The more often you do this and the more often you use this app, the more your emotional intelligence develops like a muscle. I encourage my clients to do this check-in as much as possible, but at least bare minimum once a day. And I personally aim to do this at least thrice a day, which I suggest you as well. But I also often use this app just to figure out whatever the fuck I'm feeling when I'm clueless about my emotional state. But sometimes you're in a situation where you really have to control your emotions. Like you can't just cry out loud in between your work day. So what do you do then? That is what cleaning the mess is about. There are ways you can control your emotions in an unhealthy way by suppressing them or maybe scrolling on social media. But these reduce your ability to control them in the long run, and you become a victim of your emotions and these habits. And there are ways to control your emotions in a healthy way, which increases your emotional intelligence and your control over them in the long run. Let me share some of the most effective ones that I've discovered. The first one is your breath. Your breathing directly influences your autonomic nervous system. So if you take quick and shallow breaths, it will activate your sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response. But if you take deep and slow breaths, especially exhales, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest response. There are a lot of yogic breathing patterns that I've researched and I'm aware of, and I suggest them to my clients according to their needs and situation. But here is the easiest one you can use in real time to manage your stress and emotions. I learned it from Dr. Andrew Huberman, and it's called the physiological sigh, which is 2 consecutive inhales through the nose and a long, calm, extended exhale through thinly pursed lips. So this is what it looks like. Try this right now. You'll notice the difference in just one breath. So the next time you feel stressed out or your emotions are out of control, now you have a tool, a concrete one, to manage them. You can do this before meetings, during an argument, or even before sleeping if you want to improve your sleep quality. The second tool is my personal favorite way to deal with emotions. There's rock hard neuroscience that says when you use words to express your emotions, it activates the logical part of your brain and calms down the emotional part of your brain, which allows you to have an objective perspective over your emotions. This is exactly why talking to a friend when you're troubled feels so good and relieving. Now, the app is a super effective way for the purpose of recognizing your emotion in yourself, but the next step is to start voicing them. You can start with your loved ones and the people with whom you feel safe, but you might not always have someone to voice your emotions with. What do you do then? This is where I like to use a pen and paper. The simple journaling method that I suggest to my clients is brain dump, which is just writing whatever the fuck is going in your head using a pen and paper without any judgment. Just letting whatever wants to come up, come up. For a lot of people, myself included, this becomes the first time we let our suppressed parts fully voice themselves, and that makes them feel finally seen. because we had judged them so much, which is a crucial step for healing, by the way. When you're triggered, taking even 10 minutes out to freely dump whatever emotions and thoughts are going on in your mind makes the difference of day and night. Finally, here's how you can shut off the source of water. I can't possibly do justice to trauma work in a generic video about emotional management. I recently made a video exclusively on it, which I'll link at the end for you. But trauma work is the most powerful change that completely changed the trajectory of my life as a highly sensitive person. Here are some steps that are super effective. Mindfulness practices like yoga and Tai Chi are proven by research to work. Personally, an emotion based, body based meditation inspired by this book, Letting Go, was a game changer for me. This is also where the section in the app where you locate emotions in your body is so powerful, because tiny check-ins with your body strengthens your connection to it, which broke off because of trauma. For sensitive people who carry complex trauma like myself, you have to find a way to reparent your inner child. The part of you which still feels hurt from your childhood till date. You can do that on your own through practices like parts work or shadow work or a lot of introspection. There are going to be detailed videos I'll be making on these topics. But in my experience, external help from someone who has walked this journey and has the understanding of basic principles of trauma is simply transformative. It can cut down years from your healing journey. If you're serious about this and are looking for professional help, I would love to talk to you. You can schedule a free coaching session with me below this video. But if you want to dive deeper into the cause of your emotional reactivity, click here to watch this video where I talked about the fundamentals of trauma and the 3 most powerful ways to heal.